Jason Statham, a name synonymous with high-octane action and charismatic screen presence, rose from humble beginnings to become one of Hollywood's most recognized stars. Born in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, England, on July 26, 1972. Statham grew up in a working-class family where hardship was a constant companion. His father was a street seller and his mother a dancer. This combination of resilience and creativity played a significant role in shaping his character. In his youth, Statham was an accomplished diver, representing England at various competitions. This athleticism would later translate into the thrilling stunts that have become his trademark in films. However, beneath the surface of his rising fame lay a tumultuous childhood scarred by the influence of a ruthless cartel that wreaked havoc in his community. The cartel's violent grip on the area shattered the lives of many, including Statham's family, leaving an indelible mark on his formative years. The fear and trauma experienced during this time ignited a fire within him, a desire for justice that would simmer beneath the surface for years. As he transitioned from competitive diving to acting, Statham harnessed the pain of his past, channeling it into powerful performances that resonated with audiences worldwide. His breakthrough role in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels not only showcased his talent, but also hinted at the depths of his character shaped by adversity. It was this deep-seated experience that fueled his eventual decision to confront the very forces that had deprived him of a normal childhood. Thus began a journey toward revenge that would intertwine his past with an explosive present. The cartel's influence loomed large over Jason Statham's childhood, casting a dark shadow that would shape his formative years. Growing up in Shirebrook, he witnessed firsthand the pervasive fear and intimidation that the cartel instilled in his community. Not only did they engage in drug trafficking and extortion, but they also exerted control through violence, leading to a stark atmosphere of dread that permeated everyday life. One of the most harrowing memories for young Statham was the day a close family friend was assaulted in broad daylight for failing to pay off a debt. The brazen act unfolded mere streets away from his home, leaving a lasting impression on him and solidifying the fragile nature of safety. The chilling reminder that anyone could become a target shattered the innocence of his youth. He often turned to sports to escape these grim realities, diving into a world where he felt more control, yet the undercurrent of fear never truly left him. As his childhood progressed, the cartel's grip tightened. Families were torn apart as fathers and brothers disappeared, taken by law enforcement, or worse, never to return. Statham's own family faced threats that forced them into silence, instilling a profound sense of helplessness. This environment fostered resentment within him, a burning desire to fight back against those who had wreaked havoc on his loved ones and dreams. Ultimately, the cartel wasn't just a part of Statham's past, they were an ever-present reminder of what he had lost and what he yearned to reclaim. This ongoing struggle between fear and defiance would inform every decision he made as he navigated both his career and the tumultuous journey toward vengeance. Years later, as Jason Statham established himself in Hollywood, a chance encounter reignited the flames of his buried memories. While attending a charity event in London, he encountered an old acquaintance from Shirebrook, someone who had recently escaped the clutches of the cartel after years of hiding. Their conversation was laden with nostalgia and unspoken pain as they reminisced about their childhood. But it quickly turned somber when the acquaintance revealed that the cartel was still active and had expanded its operations. The news that the same group that had devastated his community was still wreaking havoc struck Statham like a lightning bolt. His friend's harrowing account of the cartel's continued brutality resurfaced images from his past, days filled with fear, pain, and helplessness. It became clear to him that their shadow loomed larger than ever, and the cycle of violence persisted, threatening another generation of young lives. That night, restless thoughts plagued Statham as he recalled the anguish of those lost years and the faces of friends torn apart by violence. The conversation served as a catalyst for action. He could no longer remain a bystander in his own story. Fueled by a newfound determination to confront the specter of his past, he began formulating a plan to dismantle the cartel, this time not as a frightened child, but as a man ready to reclaim what had been stolen from him. This pivotal moment marked the transition from grief to resolve, sparking his journey toward vengeance and justice against those who had once haunted his childhood. The stakes had never felt clearer. It was time to confront the demons that had shaped his life and strike back against an enduring enemy. With his resolve steeled, Jason Statham knew he had to transform himself into a force capable of confronting the cartel. He conceptualized a rigorous training regimen that would combine physical conditioning, combat skills, and mental toughness. Drawing upon his background as a diver, he honed his focus and discipline, pushing his body to its limits in preparation for the challenges ahead. Statham's mornings began at dawn. With intense cardio sessions that included long runs and high-intensity interval training, building agility and endurance were essential, as he needed the stamina to outmaneuver the cartel's enforcers. His afternoons were dedicated to mastering various martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Krav Maga became staples of his training. Each punch and kick was more than just physical exercise. They were cathartic releases of pent-up anger and yearning for justice. Understanding that he couldn't face this battle alone, Statham began reaching out to old friends and colleagues who shared his disdain for the cartel's brutal reign. He reconnected with fellow actors, stunt coordinators, and even former fighters who had their own stories of loss and survival. Together, they forged a tight-knit group bound by a common purpose, liberating their community from the darkness. As they trained together, camaraderie grew amongst them. Sharing stories of grief and loss further fueled their convictions. They devised strategic plans for infiltration and disruption of the cartel's operations, blending Statham's instinctive leadership with the varied skills of his allies. What was initially a solitary journey towards revenge blossomed into a collaboration, positioning Statham not only as an avenger but also as a leader ready to fight back against the tyranny that had haunted his past. The stage was set. Statham was no longer just a man seeking vengeance, but a symbol of collective defiance against the cartel's oppression. As the team coalesced around Jason Statham's vision, they began to map out a multifaceted strategy to dismantle the cartel. Statham emphasized the importance of intelligence gathering, recognizing that knowledge was power in their mission. They leveraged contacts from Statham's past, former law enforcement officers and informants, who provided crucial insights into the cartel's operations, supply routes, and the identities of key figures within their ranks. Under Statham's leadership, they meticulously analyzed this information, identifying weak points within the cartel's structure. The team spent weeks planning precise operations to disrupt their activities without drawing attention. Stealth became their primary mode of operation. Once they had identified potential targets, they adopted disguises and camouflaged vehicles that allowed them to blend into the urban landscape. One of the first missions involved sabotaging a shipment of illicit drugs intended for distribution in Shirebrook. The group set up listens via hidden microphones placed near known cartel drop-off locations. Early one morning, as chaos erupted among cartel members discovering their cargo had been tampered with, Statham and his allies executed a stealthy exit. Each success emboldened them, leading to bolder undertakings. Simultaneously, while monitoring cartel movements, they observed patterns in security routines and developed plans to exploit vulnerabilities during high-stakes meetings in secluded locations. This meticulous approach allowed them to strike with precision at pivotal moments when the cartel members were least prepared, a calculated maneuver that garnered both respect and fear. Every successful operation not only eroded the cartel's control over the community but also stirred hope among those who had long lived in fear. Statham's determination fueled a relentless pursuit for justice, transforming him from a Hollywood star into a calculated strategist on a mission. A stark reminder to the cartel that their reign was about to end. The confrontation with the cartel unfolded in a deserted warehouse, an old stronghold that had become synonymous with their reign of terror. As night fell, Statham and his team approached the site, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Each member was acutely aware of the stakes. This was not just a battle for justice but a deeply personal fight for closure. The plan was precarious yet bold. To ambush a key cartel meeting where their leaders would be gathered. Under the cover of darkness, Statham led his team inside, moving silently through the shadows like a ghost. They positioned themselves strategically around the perimeter of the sprawling warehouse, each one keenly attuned to the sounds of the cartel members' chatter echoing within. As they monitored their movements through earpieces, tension mounted. They were ready to spring into action. When the moment finally arrived, Statham burst through the entrance with explosive force, catching the cartel members off guard. A flurry of punches and expertly executed kicks followed as he unleashed years of pent-up frustration and fury on those who had caused him immeasurable pain. His combat skills, honed through relentless training and determination, came alive in a whirlwind of precision strikes. The chaotic scene erupted into utter mayhem as Statham's allies joined the fray, taking down assailants with calculated efficiency. Each movement felt like poetry amidst chaos, as they worked in unison to dismantle the cartel's defenses, the sound of fists meeting flesh mingling with shouts of anguish. In one exhilarating moment, Statham locked eyes with a familiar figure, a notorious cartel leader who had directly impacted his childhood. The final confrontation felt inevitable as they faced off amidst the remnants of destruction. Here was his chance for retribution. With every fierce exchange and deflected blow, Statham's resolve grew stronger. This was more than just revenge. It was reclaiming his past and ensuring that no child would endure what he had suffered. The aftermath of the confrontation weighed heavily on Jason Statham, a complex mix of triumph and turmoil swirling within him. He had achieved what he set out to do: disrupt the cartel and confront his childhood tormentor, but the emotional toll was profound. Sitting alone in the quiet of his home, he reflected on the chaos that had unfolded, grappling with conflicting feelings of satisfaction and emptiness. Revenge had provided an enticing sense of power, yet it came at a steep price. As he replayed the scenes in his mind, the violence, the pain inflicted, and the faces of those he fought against, Statham began to question whether true closure could ever be attained through vengeance. Each strike against his enemies had been cathartic, but left him haunted by the shadow of who he had become in those moments of fury. Forgiveness lingered as an elusive concept just out of reach. He pondered whether it was possible to excuse the horrors of his past, or if doing so would dilute the anguish he and others endured. The very act of seeking retribution had taken on a life of its own, morphing into something darker than he initially envisioned. It forced Statham to confront not only his past, but also the man he might have been had circumstances been different. In that stillness, a realization emerged. Healing required more than just action. It demanded understanding and empathy, a reconciliation with one's own pain that could pave the way for genuine peace. As dawn broke, illuminating his surroundings, Statham resolved to embrace this path forward, not merely to find closure for himself, but to inspire others scarred by violence to seek a different resolution. The battle within him continued, but now it carried a flicker of hope. Perhaps redemption lay not in vengeance, but in living a life defined by resilience and compassion. The aftermath of the confrontation with the cartel brought significant consequences for Jason Statham, both personally and within the larger scope of his community. The immediate impact was palpable. With the cartel's leadership decimated, there was a noticeable shift in the atmosphere of Shirebrook. Fear began to dissipate as residents felt emboldened, realizing they could reclaim their streets from the shadows that had long loomed over them. However, this newfound freedom was paired with uncertainty. Security services were stretched thin, and the risk of retaliation from remaining cartel members lingered like an uninvited specter. For Statham, the victory felt bittersweet. Though he had avenged his past, he recognized that vengeance rarely provides lasting peace. He found himself grappling with a renewed sense of purpose, using his experiences to advocate for those affected by violence and trauma, working alongside community leaders to support rehabilitation and prevention programs. This shift marked a departure from merely being a figure of resistance to becoming an agent of change. Statham's emotional journey also influenced his career trajectory. Rather than returning to typical action roles centered around violence, he sought projects that explored deeper human experiences, the complexities of loss, healing, and redemption. His performances began to resonate more profoundly, reflecting not just physical prowess but also emotional depth, a testament to his personal growth. Ultimately, while dismantling the cartel had provided closure regarding his childhood pain, it ushered in a new mission for Statham. Fostering resilience within himself and others. He understood that true strength lay not in violence but in building connections and empowering those around him to rise above their struggles. This evolution would not only shape his future endeavors but also affirm his commitment to transforming personal pain into collective healing. Jason Statham's journey from a troubled childhood to a powerful act of revenge encapsulates a narrative rich with resilience and transformation. Born into a world overshadowed by the cartel's violence, Statham's early life was marred by trauma and loss, shaping him into a man defined by both fear and determination. The path he traveled was fraught with obstacles, yet every challenge fueled his desire for justice, ultimately leading him to confront the very forces that had shattered his youth. The confrontation itself was a pivotal moment, not merely an act of vengeance but a catalyst for profound change within himself and his community. As he faced the cartel, Statham not only reclaimed his narrative but also symbolized the fight against oppression for countless others who had suffered in silence. This powerful act of defiance marked the beginning of a new chapter, one where he could redirect his energy toward healing rather than destruction. In the aftermath, Statham's resolve shifted from seeking revenge to fostering resilience, both in himself and among those around him. He became an advocate for healing, using his platform to support initiatives aimed at helping individuals affected by violence and trauma. This evolution underscored the transformative power of action grounded in empathy, allowing him to emerge not just as a hero in the eyes of his community, but as a beacon of hope. Ultimately, Statham's story is a testament to the possibility of redemption. It illustrates how confronting one's past can lead to personal growth and inspire collective healing. The scars of his childhood remain, but they now serve as reminders of strength, resilience, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. A journey that transcends individual pain and champions the healing of an entire community.